What up, beautiful believers? I hope everybody is having a beautiful, God filled Sunday and a God filled everyday, period. Lately, I have just been waking up every day with heaven on my mind. Just how beautiful it's going to be, and just like how I don't like I know they say that there's no tears in heaven, but I'm just like, if there's no tears in heaven, like I'm asking God, like, God, when I get up there, if when I see you and Jesus and Paul and Peter and Thomas and Mary and just godly, everybody, I'm just gonna cry, like cry tears of joy. But as I think about heaven, I'm also being drawn a lot to what's going to be happening here on earth, right? So I noticed this pull and this tug from God on my spirit where He is just removing every single thing from me that could be a distraction. And that absolutely, I have to say, answering a prayer, even though it looks messy, it is an answer prayer. I mean, He just has me in this place of where I have to sit still. I have to listen. And I'm not even going to say I haven't been here before. I remember one time that He gave me COVID for like 15, 16 days to make my butt sit down and like learn something. So, because you're always on the move, you're always distracted, always have to do something. And that's how I am. I was talking to my brother today and I was like, I'm definitely my dad and my mother's child because the two of them just had this grind set mindset, right? They were both hustlers in their own way. And I definitely picked up 100,000% on their grind set mindset. So, that's just been one of the hardest things. Like, first of all, not having control over my situation, like, no control over what happens, having to give up total control, like, willingly first, willingly, then it hurt a little bit, and now it's back to willingly. And then just not knowing what happens next or where the next thing comes from, next money comes from, how the next bill gets paid. All things that, for a person like me, I'm just not used to. And then I'm reading my Bible, like I'm really pressing in, and it talks about rest so much. And even in Ecclesiastes, where it talks about there's a time for everything, like, listen, God is teaching me, like, look, there is a time when you are supposed to rest. But to me, that makes no sense at all, right? To me, it's like, no, how can I rest? Like, I'm looking at the bills coming in and I don't know how they're going to get paid. Like, this is not the time to rest. This is the time to push, hustle, grind, everything. You know what I mean? So in my mind, I'm like, I need to, like, well, do something. I could DoorDash, I can I view it, I can do some gig work, I can figure something out. You know what I mean? And then that's when God, like, you know what? Let me just look. I'm just gonna take the car. So she got to sit down. So yeah, it's like a total I have no control situation, but um it's actually kind of beautiful. It's just kind of beautiful to be forced, or not forced, but be, because I said a prayer. It's not forced because God gives us free will, but I prayed for this, right? I prayed that He would show me how to totally depend on Him. And it's a seed I planted a while ago that is just being watered or just growing now, but absolutely something I totally prayed for. So anyway, in this time, I've been pressing in, spending so much time with God, so much time in His Word, so much time deeper, doing a deeper dive. Like, I've read through the Bible so many times, and it's just never hit me like it's hitting me this time. And I'm also just applying these scriptures to my actual life, like asking God. Sometimes you read the scriptures and you're like, okay, what does this have to do with me? Like, me, I'm just digging deep and just like doing, every time I read a verse, it's like, hey, or a chapter, let's see exactly how this would apply to what I'm going through today, how this can help me today. And it's really been very beneficial. Like, I'm totally loving this time that I'm spending with God, and I wish I could be here forever. I know He's gonna supply every need, but anyway, back to the point. So as I'm thinking about heaven, I'm also thinking about the processes that are gonna have to take place here on earth, which I'm totally seeing play out on a day-to-day basis, which I'm actually cutting some of that stuff off too because it's a distraction. I was watching something the other day that was, I'm starting to have dreams, right? And the Bible said you have dreams and visions. And I was watching something the other day, and it was saying when we cloud our minds with all these different other things, and we're so distracted by whatever it might be. Like it might even be your favorite binge watching your favorite show or whatever, that something that minor, or whether you're somebody that's out here getting up every day, going to fight a cause or whatever it may be. When you're clouding your mind with those kind of things, it takes over. So when you get ready to go to sleep, you can't get those dreams and visions from God because your mind is just crowded with so many different, you've allowed so much in that there's just no room. Like there's no room. You didn't intentionally give room to what God is trying to say or speak to you. So lately I've noticed, like as I've cut things down, I've had more dreams, not visions, but dreams. And so that's another thing for a whole nother time. So I'm just paying attention to the world and what's happening and how the Bible's literally unfolding before our eyes. And I'm thinking about the when we're all going to be caught up, right? I'm not exactly sure what scripture it is, but when we're caught up in the clouds with Jesus, when he comes back to get his children, his followers, the true followers. And I'm not terrified or anything like that. I used to be scared to read Revelations and all this stuff, but I'm not there anymore. But I am getting extremely emotional and sadder each time I read it, because as much as I am celebrating like the fact that this is going to happen, like I see the world, how it's acting, how it's aligning with the Bible. So I'm getting excited. I was talking to one of my friends yesterday, and she was just like, girl, get your popcorn, like it's about and we are so excited, but at the same time I feel this extreme heavy sadness because I'm like, I'm understanding more that once the church is caught up, that means that there's no more church here on earth. So just imagine if you're looking at the earth right, or the world right now, not the earth, the world right now, and the behaviors in the world. If you think it's bad now, when you got people here that represent the church, like truly represent the church, not the people that's misleading and all about all kind of other nonsense. Imagine how it's going to be when Jesus comes back and takes everyone who is the church and leaves the people. I can't even, the thought, the thought is just sad. It's sad. So I don't want to say it's a terrifying thought, but it makes me start to think about everybody in my life. Like every single person, like, do they know Christ? Are they really following Christ? Like, are they just saying Christ, or are they being obedient to Christ? Are they seeking Christ in every decision? Because listen, all this time I've been talking, like the last 11 years, and yeah, I've been on a path. Like I've noticed now, as me and God, he's really, really, taking my attention and put it on him, seeking him first. I've noticed that all throughout my life, I've been taking steps to be where he wants me to be. But now I'm learning that, look, even in that season, you was trusting him, you were believing him, you were saying what you needed to say, and you were trying, but you were not quite there. Like, you know what I mean? There was so much more that he was going to reveal to me later that I didn't even realize. You know what I mean? Just realizing that my last 11 years was a wilderness season because it was something that I did where I never consulted him. Like, you know what I mean? So I say that to say, like, even as far as I thought, and I always say this, as far as I thought I was in my walk, there's always more layers and levels to it. And it wasn't until God has, like, just things I would never let go. Things I would have never let go of, right? I would have never let go of my job. I would have stayed at that job. I would continue to try to meet those metrics, and I would continue to pour into that job and say I'm working as if I'm working for the Lord, but not fully understanding that I wasn't. You know what I mean? I wasn't seeking him first. And that's why my tone might be venting sometimes or negative about, what was going on in the situation, because I wasn't mature in him. I wasn't seeking him first. I wasn't talking to him so that what comes out of me is the overflow of him. I wasn't doing that. My car, I never would have been like, what I'm saying, but I understand my car was a hindrance to me. It really was. And I mean, I'm not saying this is for everybody, but for me personally, that was my escape route. You know what I'm saying? Like, the one thing is, if I had my car, I can get up, I can go to the shopping malls, I can go to the stores and stuff and spend money, just spend money that I didn't need to spend, or there's always, I'll find a need for something that I don't need, you know what I mean? Um just everything I use as an escape route. Even cruises, like, I love cruises. Y'all know how much I love cruises. But I was thinking about that this morning. Like, every time I take a cruise, I'll be like, oh my gosh, yeah, I just need to get away from this I can't wait to get away from this. And I mean, that really should just not be your mindset. Like, I want to have true joy when I'm moving and stuff. I want to be intentional. Like, if I do take a trip, I want it to be like, oh my gosh, this is just another step in my joy and my true happiness. I don't want it to be like I'm trying to run away or get away from something. Like, I need to get away from this. Like, that's just no way to live. And so the last 11 years, I was really in a wilderness, and he was carrying me through that wilderness, right? He taught me a lot of stuff in that wilderness. I learned about spiritual warfare. I learned that, there are people planted for God as well as people planted for the enemy in these workplaces, and how you got to navigate your spiritual walk there. You could get caught up in what they doing because you with them majority of your time. This is where you spend majority of your time. Things that God had me thinking about as I move forward. Like, if I wherever he takes me, if he takes me back into the corporate world, he takes me back into, wherever he leads me to, like, I understand now that, you know, you just got to be so careful. Like, you got to be so careful, and you'll get caught right up in this stuff because you'll have you won't be seeking him first, and so then you'll get caught up in the world's expectations and what they want from you. I understand that God carried me the last 5 years on my job because I was never the top supervisor in the sales department. And I would ask God all the time, like, why you got me in this position? Like, I don't be caring about money like that. I'm not on money like that. I'm not on this putting pressure on people to sell stuff and things like that. That's just not me. And not in this way. Like, I'm not saying it's bad. Like, sales is not bad. There's nothing wrong with selling because we have to sell and buy in an economy. People got to pay their bills, stuff like that. But I just didn't, the way that we would go, like, people go about it. Some people, I'm not gonna say everybody, but the way people sometimes go about it is like they forget about the people that they there to serve, and they more so focus on the numbers. And I mean, even me, I get caught up in it. I used to find myself praying all the time, like, dude, like, you're getting caught up in it, and it would show in how I treated the people. And I'd be like, I'd have to apologize to them, and I'd be like, I'm so sorry, like, I really got caught up again. And I would say again, I got caught up again in the expectations. And I just, I would go and I would pray, and I would say, God, I feel terrible. Like, I don't feel good about this. God, like, I'm ministering to myself about this right now. But anyway, I would say, I don't feel good about this. And I would have to go back and apologize to the people. Like, I realize I don't want to go back to that. So I learned that kind of stuff on my vocation, on my last job. You know what I'm saying? Nothing bad about them. Everybody have to work out their own salvation, carry their own cross. So whatever everybody thinks they're doing that is correct or aligned or with whatever they believe, that's just gonna be on them. But for me, it was just us. It became such a struggle. And I do remember the last couple of months there, like, I was crying every day. I was crying every day. And I'm like, this is just no way to be. Like, this can't be life. And then just to have God just uncover it for me and just be like, well, when you went to that job, you were desperate. You felt like the money was running out, which is where I'm at now. Like, you felt like the money was running out, so you felt like you had to make a move. You had to do something. So you took that job out of desperation in the first place. You didn't ask me, bam, convicted. You're right. You're right. And then, then I just look back at how his hand held me, because even a job I took out of desperation, like I managed to be there for 11 years. It was an 11. That's how I see how the Egyptians could wander I mean, not Egyptians, the Israelites could wander in the wilderness for 40 years, because I was there for 11 years. And just battling, like, oh God, I'm doing what you want me to do. When really, if it started out wrong, it didn't start out seeking him. All he can do is try to guide me along the mess that I created. That's all he could do. Like, I didn't seek him, and a lot of decisions I made there, I wasn't seeking him first. And that's probably why, or that is exactly why, because obedience equals blessing. I learned that the other day, and today that actually happened. Like, I was obedient in something that he told me to do that I never would have done. And then I saw immediate blessing. But so he showed me, he shows me himself. He shows me himself every day. So yeah, basically I'm just thinking, I'm off track now, but I'm just thinking about all of the people. I thought, here it is, I thought I was so on this right. Not that I'm on the wrong track, but here it is. I thought that I was really serving God, like really doing the right things. And just to be like reminded that, did you ask me about any of that? Like, by my father, like, did you ask me about any of this? Oh, okay. I thought not. So, so when I think about being caught up, I'm so glad that I'm teachable. I ask him all the time for a teachable spirit. So he always want to teach me something. But you got to be prepared for what you ask for. It's a sacrifice. I was saying this the other day to somebody, and I was like, people don't really realize the sacrifice that it takes to truly follow Christ. Like, they don't. Like, they're not will. They're like the rich. They're like the rich man in the Bible, when he was like, what do I need to do? And Jesus was like, well, go sell everything you have, give it to the poor, and then you could come follow me. And because he was so rich and he had so much that he could look at, tangible, he couldn't do it. And if you notice in the Bible, everybody who followed Jesus, they sacrificed everything. They gave up everything. So you gotta be willing to give up every single thing. Like, even yourself, like all your material possessions, yourself, everything. And I'm just learning that doing that is hard. It's very hard, but it very much is going to be worth it, because when you think about being separated from God forever, because that's what it comes down to. That is what the real goal is, not being separated from God forever. So think about what's happening in the world now, and even it's going to get worse with God here. This is what the church here. So just imagine how it's going to be when the church is gone. And that's what is really making me want to talk to everybody I know um about this, because I'm like, dude, that is a terrible thought. Like, that is for me, I'm not scared or anything, because listen, I'm being obedient. I'm opening up I want spiritual clarity from God. I'm opening up my heart. I'm willing to make sacrifices now. I don't care. Like, I am all in. He can do what he has to do. I make room for him. I know that he's going to provide. I know it's not going to be easy. But I'm going to praise him every step of the way. I'm gonna keep working on my faith. I'm gonna keep working on letting him strengthen me when I'm weak. All of those things, everything that he planted in me over the last few years, I am all of that stuff is growing in me now. But I just want to encourage you guys to think about that. Think about that. You know what I mean? Like, that is just crazy. It's a crazy thought. So remember, I love y'all. I don't want to go over 20 minutes. God loves you even more. But I love you guys. And really, really think about that. Because for me, when I thought about it, I was like, oh, that's going to be terrible for the people that's still here. And it just makes me sad for anybody who's just not on that path. Um, I'll leave you with this. My friend Michelle said it yesterday. Get right or get left. And that's the best way I can end this video. I love y'all.